Abraham had just circumcised himself. And this week's Torah portion begins with God appearing to Abraham to visit him, which is actually one of the sources in the Torah to the mitzvah of visiting the sick. God is visiting Abraham, and he appears to Abraham. And then all of a sudden, 3 people seem to be wandering in the desert, and Abraham calls them in, invites them into his home, and serves them a lavish meal. But meanwhile, God is there. So Abraham tells God, our sages tell us, God, you could wait. They can't wait. And let me take care of them. Then I'll get back to you. And our sages tell us in the Talmud that from this we derive that taking care of guests, greeting guests, is even greater than greeting and welcoming the divine. What's the logic behind that? My father, of blessed memory, would always give the following explanation. He says that one of the worst scourges in society is homelessness. When a person starves and is hungry, that's a tragedy. When a person has no clothing, that's a terrible situation to be in, and we should do everything in our power to remedy that. But when a person doesn't have a home, the Talmud says that person is lacking in his very humanity, in his very human dignity. And my father explained the reason for that is, when we are outside of our home, we are on a stage. We act in a different way. We don't act the way we really are. We have 2 personas. We have a public persona and we have a private persona. There's nothing wrong with a public persona, but a person who doesn't have a place where they could be themselves is lacking in their true inner persona. They're lacking in their humanity. So when you give a place of lodging to a wayfarer, a traveler, who is temporarily homeless, what you're doing to that person is giving them a identity, a full human identity. Because when you're not, even you could be a multi-billionaire and you're traveling and you don't have where to stay because the hotels are all booked, you're just as lacking in your humanity or human dignity as the poorest homeless person living under a bridge for that moment. Thank God it's not going to last too long, but that's only a quantitative difference. But qualitatively, it's the same thing. So when you give someone a home who is homeless, even temporarily so, you are actually creating their humanity. You become God's partner. And that's superior to just welcoming God, where you're on the welcoming side. Here you become an actual partner with God. And the lesson for that is that God is also in need of a home. God, so to speak, is homeless as long as we don't invite him into our lives. The whole purpose of creation was to create a world that would become a dira, a dwelling for God himself. And God is homeless until that is fully realized, which will happen in the Messianic age. And every mitzvah we do invites God into our homes and gives God the ability to fulfill his own very reason and purpose for creation.